Hi, and welcome to this segment of Assembling God's Puzzle. I invite you to think about your day so far today, how you got here to watching this video. You woke up, maybe your alarm clock went off and woke you up and got ready as normal. Or maybe your alarm clock didn't go off and it made you late, and so you ended up doing other stuff and you got here. Maybe you got in your car, drove, and had gas, and it worked fine. Or maybe it didn't. Maybe it didn't. You had to get towed or something. Maybe you had an accident, whatever. Um, but just think about your day. All the different things that happened to get you right here to this moment. Now, I suspect if any one of those things hadn't happened the way it did, you might not be here at this exact moment, and watching this video. It, you know, it, something could throw the wrench in the works. It could make you late. It could whatever. Somebody unexpected could call. If anything else had happened, um, yeah, you probably wouldn't be here right now, right at this exact moment. That's how it works, I think. Your day goes that way, and that's how it happens. Now you start, looking at that in the longer term, and you look at the past year. The past year, all the things that have happened that have gotten you here. The good, the bad, and the ugly. Uh, if any of those hadn't happened, you might not be sitting here. You might be doing something else. You might you have a different job, or you might be in a hospital, or you might be on vacation, or whatever it might be. So you start thinking of how many things, even in a day's time, happen to us. The events, the random phone calls, the running into people, the talking to people, the uh, events, the whatever, the things that grab our attention and those that don't grab our attention. Start looking at all those things, and there's a lot. There's a lot that happens before we get to this particular moment in time. And if any of those things would happen differently, if you go back in time and change one of those things, well, this moment would be changed too. You might not even be here. So isn't that amazing? So you started looking last year, all the different things, and then you started even looking farther back. Think of your family. What decisions, what did your parents do to even get you born, or what vocational choices did they make, and job choices, and all the different things that they did in their relationships, the fights, the joys, the celebrations, the agonies, the griefs, all those different things. All those same things happened to you and your family that kind of made you who you are today, got you to this point. Then you start looking farther back, and great, 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 great grandparents. What did they deal with? What did they do? What happened back then that had to be in place for them to give birth to the next generation and the next generation, and until it finally gets to you? How did they deal with World War II, or Black Plague, or you even go back centuries, and you start thinking, if you start looking at it and saying, well, if even one thing would have been different, how would that have changed where we are at today, where I am today? Would I be sitting here watching this video? I don't know. Depends how big a change it was. But all those different things, all those millions and thousands and millions of things had to happen for me to be exactly who I am, exactly in this place, exactly sitting in front of this computer looking at this video. Now, some people would say, well, that's just chance, right? All those things just happen, it happened this way or that way, and the good, the bad, and the ugly just happened by chance, and that's how it works. Well, I don't know about that, because what that means, if it was just chance, and there's no meaning to it, then we're liable to the next thing that happens to us, the next event that's awful. We're liable to say, well, that shouldn't be here. Something's gone wrong. History or things shouldn't be happening this way. It should be differently. And this is not good. This is not leading anywhere good. And we can get depressed, we can get angry, and we can, start, kicking and screaming and what's the point? What's use? Um, you know, that's what we could, a lot of people do that. And well, why is this happening to me? Why is this puzzle piece in my life that, well, it shouldn't be? There's something wrong. Something wrong with reality, something wrong with life, something wrong with God for doing this. And, that doesn't make life very good, very pleasant. Now, if that's all chance, if it's just kind of, what's happening. Or another way to look at it would be, well, somehow God was involved. Somehow God had a hand in putting all those pieces together, all those millions and billions of things together, all that history, all those choices, all those relationships. Somehow God put all those things together in order that I might be here today, sitting here watching this video. Now that's a whole different feel, isn't it? If God went to all that work to get me here today, then it must be pretty important that I'm here today at this point in time doing this exact thing. Because that's, if God put that work in, why would God, waste God's time doing that? So there must be a purpose for me being here. Must be meaning to that. And I must be important, that God would pay attention to that God would kind of orchestrate all of that. Now that feels totally different than, well, it's just chance, and this awful thing is going to happen that we know is going to happen. Well, that's, that shouldn't be. There's something wrong. Or if God's involved, well, there's something right. Even with the next awful thing that happens, even the next thing that we don't think should be here, if we have cultivated that sense that of the chain of events that God has been involved in to get us here, if we've cultivated that sense that that's what God has been up to, then we can more easily say, okay, well, here's an awful thing, but maybe it's another chain of events, another link in the chain of events that is leading somewhere, that has a purpose. Now that feels better than just saying, well, it's awful. It's just God's just doing this to torture me. So that makes life a little bit better to look at it that way. That's up to us. I mean, we're going to run into good things and bad things in the future. That's automatic. But how we look at it will make our lives better or worse. So I invite you to kind of do this, make it, maybe do it as a prayer or as a meditation or contemplation, or just thinking about it, or just looking at it this way. Just do what I was doing with you. Just go back in your mind and your imagination and your memory and just kind of imagine all those things that happened back then. If you know some history of your family, put that in there and say, well, Aunt so-and-so did this and that led to this and that meant that I am here today. Or make it up. Or how did great whoever deal with the Black Plague, and what happened when great grandfather's spouse died and remarried, had more children. How'd that work out? What happened with that? How'd that lead to right now? Just kind of play around with that. You don't have to know all the details. It's just a way of looking at it, rather. Just kind of a way of cultivating, looking at what has happened and all the things that have led up to now, and kind of entertaining the possibility that they all have a purpose, they all have a reason, that God is involved somehow. And maybe, just maybe, the next time something happens that in our lives that we say, well, shouldn't be here, maybe you will be able to say, well, maybe it's another piece of the puzzle. Maybe it's another link in the chain of where God is leading us. So I invite you to practice that as much as you want, and see what happens, see if it helps, see if it helps you look at awful things a little bit differently, situating those puzzle pieces in your life a little bit better. And that's the point. That's the whole point of all this. So good luck with that, and God bless.